we're living in this sort of time where people are afraid to speak their mind because they don't want to get cancelled or be seen as hateful. And you said you would forgive musicians for mob-pleasing behaviour, but not comedians. You believe comedians should speak truth to power. What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess musicians are funny. I used to be a rock journalist, and when I interviewed them, it was rarely good because they express themselves through the music, and when you sit them down and start talking to them about the music, they clam up, and as well they should. I think it was Laurie Anderson who said that writing about music is like talking. What is it? She said writing about music is like dancing to architecture. And so that's what I found time and time again. These guys, they couldn't. So their kind of skill is in expressing themselves through instruments, through a crowd of people, to a crowd of people, and that's it. They don't need to be political. They don't need to be anything. They just need to create this joyous sound. Whereas with comedians, I mean, I read a book called Jesters Are Everywhere, and it's a really interesting book about jesters throughout history. The writer, she found all these excerpts in different books from right down through the ages about jesters. And she said it's really interesting. She said it's a tradition that has been in nearly every culture she could find. There's always someone who's providing that role. And she said what was interesting was she never saw anyone say, the king brought this strange little fellow called a jester, right? The idea of the jester seems to have been there for forever, you know? So here's something that has an incredibly long tradition. And the jester is the person who kind of tells the king what the man on the street is thinking. Right? So all the kind of people who are bowing and scraping to the king, the jester is the one who comes along and cuts through all that and tells the king what's really happening down on the ground so the king can make good decisions. That's the way I look at it anyway, you know? And sometimes the jester will really go on the edge of getting the king very, very angry to do that, you know? That's not today's generation of, like basically what happened was the mob ascended the throne. And the thing about the mob is you will never be able to please all of them. It's a group of people.
Yeah, so, which group? Who's the mob?
The mob is made up of anyone who feels like complaining. You know, I remember one guy who used to do a satirical show in the UK, and they had a clip of a cheese rolling thing in the UK. Do you know the one where they run down a hill after a cheese? It's this crazy thing. It's like,
I wish.
It's like this big steep hill. They get a circular cheese, roll it down, and like 100 people just run down after. And it's so steep that they just end up tumbling and falling and stuff like that. Anyway, they had a joke about this, and someone wrote and said, well, my brother was killed during one of these events, you know, so, you know, why are you making jokes about it? And it was like, well, we wouldn't be able to make jokes about anything if every single person who's affected by a joke was able to write in and complain about it. That's the situation we have now. We have a situation where it's impossible to please every single member of the mob that have ascended the throne. So people, as a result, have just shut up. They've just kind of censored themselves. They've decided that whatever the mob thinks is what they think. And as a result, you get all these neutered comedians who self-police. And, you know, like outside of Chappelle and a few others, people like Shane Gillis, there's very few people who, you know, do you see things going viral? You used to see comedy things going viral all the time. It's kind of stopped, weirdly. You know, you don't see it as much.